Problem number 5 from the practice review problem. So we were told that in the 1950s, the proportion of women's to men's pay, that is the median pay that women make in a week divided by the median pay that men make in a week, was right around 60%. And there were a lot of extra numbers in this problem, but the other one we need is that in 1997, the proportion of men's to women's pay had gone up to 75%. Women were making 75% of what men did. So we have two questions here. One tells us the weekly pay for women in 1997 and asks what the pay for men was. So we need to think about how the 75% was calculated. We know that 75%, or as a decimal, 0.75, was women's pay over men's pay. Notice this did not say how much less did women make than men. If it had asked how much less women made, then we would have had to subtract 1 from that. So I'm actually going to put this down in parentheses. 1997, women over men minus 1 is equal to 25, sorry about that, that's a 5, 25% less than men. But this question doesn't tell me how much less they made, it just tells me how much they made. So it's a little different than some of the problems we've seen. Anyhow, back to our problem. The ratio of women's pay to men's pay was 0.75. So I know women's pay, that tells me 0.75 is 423 over whatever men were paid. And now I solve this for the thing I want to know, what men were paid. Men were paid so I'm going to take this both sides and multiply it by what men were paid, and then I have to divide both sides by 0.75. So men were paid that $423 divided by 0.75. And now, again, I always like to reality check my answers. So when I go to type this into my calculator, I know I should be looking for a number that's bigger than $423, because men certainly made more than women did. And if I calculate this, I will get $564. So that's what men were paid in 1997. Now going over here, we say women's pay relative to men's. What fraction of a man's salary a woman made went up from the 1950s to 1997. How much did it go up by? It increased by what percentage? Women made how much more relative to men in 1997 than they did in 1950? New over old. Lots of ways of deciding which number goes on top. So went up, so the larger number goes on top, and the smaller number goes on the bottom. It went up. It's also new over old, and than 1960. So those are all different ways of figuring out the order. Then we would have to subtract 1 to get our answer, because this is a percentage increase. And when I do that calculation, I get 0.25. So the ratio of women's pay to men's pay increased by 25% from the 1950s to 1997.